TV party tonight! Oh!
We got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know!
We're dedicated, yes, to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hippo Toes!
Scary dog!
Blurson at Blursville!
Futurama!
Good evening and welcome to Radulich and Broadcasting Network Premier Podcast TV Party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is actually a made-for-TV / straight-to-Blu-ray movie, The Banana Splits Movie. Oh boy. Joining me to talk about this, and was just as excited for it when we saw the trailer, as when I saw the trailer, Alexis Hejna from Honeysuckle Rose Creations. How you doing today, Alexis?
I still haven't gotten the Banana Splits theme song out of my head.
Yeah, I was definitely humming it earlier today while I was doing stuff. So, my son watches these Let's Plays, and he's not really into the, he's 5, so he's not really into the horror genre per se, but he's seen a bunch of Let's Plays for Five Nights at Freddy's, and he was convinced there's a Five Nights at Freddy's movies out there, and I had to go look it up for him and say, they've tried, excuse me, they've tried several times, when they have not been able to get this project off the ground. However, there is a Banana Splits movie, where these large costume characters run around and hack people to bits, and he was like, I gotta see this thing. And I'm like, you're 5, it's not gonna happen. But you can wait to be a little bit older to watch all the murdering. But yeah, apparently this may have been loosely inspired, but it is not exact. This did not start on the track that Five Nights at Freddy's started. This was completely its own thing from what I've read.
It wouldn't surprise me if the first half of the movie was inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's, because I think right up until you get like the kidnapping of the children, you could see parallels. Just say it's like, instead we got shows booked for the year, you could say we've got children's parties booked for the year.
Mm-hmm.
I could. There are some parallels. It definitely doesn't stick 100%. For the record, though, how old does your son have to be before you finally let him see Fleagle and Bingo and all of them, burn a children's entertainer to bits?
He has to be in double digits, so at a minimum 10.
Okay.
Though I'm taking my daughter to go see The Matrix this weekend, and she's 8, so I'm okay with shooty violence. I'm not okay with dismembering violence. There's levels.
The first R-rated movie I ever snuck into as a kid.
How old were you when you first saw The Matrix?
It came out in the summer of 1999, right?
Sure.
I would have been 14.
See? And significantly older than 8. So, did you do any research on this? Did you see what any of the production history was?
I looked into it a little bit. I couldn't find a lot of information on it. It mostly just caught my attention. I didn't watch the Banana Splits growing up. Again, that was a little before my time. But when I saw this trailer, I just died laughing. There's actually a fun little story I always like to joke with people. One of the boards on Facebook that I belong to, it's for horror movie fans. And someone posted a question saying, okay, so you're in a zombie movie, and you're at the scene where you've got your weapon, and you're going to go just start walking down the street killing zombies. What is the musical anthem playing while you're mastering all the zombies? And it was cliche, like Another One Bites the Dust by Queen and all that. Very traditional stuff you expect. And just to throw them for a loop, I wrote the Banana Splits theme song. But then the more I started thinking about it, it's like 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana. And it just kind of stuck with me. I'm like, it actually would be kind of fun to go around killing zombies to that music. So I let that become a joke for a while, and then I saw the trailer for this. I'm like, okay, seriously, who freaking read my mind and put this crap out there?
See, there's always an intern listening.
That there is.
According to the wiki, the production notes read, on February 19, 2019, Warner Brothers Television Group's Blue Ribbon Content division announced that it was collaborating with Blue Ice Group on producing a film adaptation of The Banana Splits, which will venture into a horror-like setting, scheduled to premiere at Comic-Con on July 18, 2019, and then released direct-to-streaming through Warner Brothers Home Entertainment on August 13th, on DVD and Blu-ray on August 27th, and then air on Sci-Fi September 21st. Danishka Esterhazy is directing the feature based on a script by Jed Elinoff and Scott Thomas. It marks the first film adaptation of a Hanna-Barbera or Sid and Marty Krofft production to be rated R by the MPAA for horror, violence, and gore. The film is a production of Blue Ice Pictures. So some have accused them of using the original Friday Nights at Freddy's script, but I believe that's still somewhere in, speaking of horror, somewhere in production hell. I think the intention is to eventually make this movie. They just can't seem to get it off the ground. But
yeah, there have been way too many disagreements between the original property owners and the studio on how they want it to go. And frankly, I'm willing to wait for it, because if we get a Five Nights at Freddy's film that is just crap among crap, it's going to destroy the series. It really is.
So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the actual movie here, The Banana Splits, which, as I just read, seems to have been its own independent property. It's a fairly simple premise. We have a child. His name is Harley, and it's his birthday, and his parents have gotten him tickets to go see a taping of The Banana Splits, which on the day that they go to see it, unbeknownst to them, has been canceled. This is the last show. And the Banana Splits are animatronic robots who, unbeknownst to the cast, and we'll find out as the movie goes on, are actually killing people at these tapings and kidnapping the children and forcing them to watch a just horrible, satanic, gore-filled, torturous example, a version of the Banana Split show. We see this only one time when our main characters are captured. They have some of the adults there who are maimed and they make them run an obstacle course, and of course they kill them at the end, which is probably one of my favorite kills in this entire thing. Every time the dog said "ta-da." But in chronological order here, they watch the taping, they end up killing the vice president of television, because he's the one that canceled the show, and then they kill the human that's involved with the show, Stevie. They do that with a lollipop down the throat, which is pretty gross. And they'll later burn his carcass. That's fun. And then the rest of it's just kind of typical slasher fare. It's different setups where they can get the characters alone to try and murder them in some way. The mom becomes the hero of the picture. Once she realizes what's going on, she saves the kids from being kidnapped. She tries to get everybody out of there. At this point, I think she survives. Her son and the friend survive. There's a young lady and her dad. The dad's trying to get her noticed, and get her a gig in Hollywood. He gets killed, but the daughter makes it. The producer of the show, the stage director rather, she buys it. There's a page that works there. She makes it out alive. There's a husband, a father to the child, and stepfather to the eldest, who at one point got run over by Snorky. But he lives, damn it. He lives, only to be run over again by one of the I guess, hipster types that her fiancé got killed, got sawed in half. She goes a little crazy, steals an old costume, and then proceeds to leave with all of the Banana Splits in tow and run poor Mitch's ass over.
And nothing of any value was lost.
No. At the end of the day, they manage to destroy the Banana Splits. Snorky actually turns on the Banana Splits, and after he has bonded for all of a minute and a half with our lead boy. He gets into a fight with one of the other ones. They kill each other, presumably, and all the humans are able to escape. So we'll talk about the actual individual kills here as we go through the review. But that's the basic plot line of this thing, and I think at the end of it they decide maybe the banana splits are not a great thing to watch.
And then we get a cover of the song by the lead singer of Fall Out Boy.
Indeed. So let me ask you, what did you think of this overall? Is this about what you expected it to be? Because I know that when I saw the trailer, I was like, okay, this is just... I was laughing, and that's what I expected. I expected to have fun with this. I mean, I can deal with silly gore and kills up to a point, and I think there was only one time I really had to turn my head because it was too gross for me, but the rest of it I was laughing pretty hard at.
I'm going to take a wild guess that it was either the lollipop down the throat, the evisceration of the hipster, or the VP getting his limbs yanked off.
It was the VP getting his limbs yanked off. That was a little too much for me.
Fair enough. I was going to say, because you usually don't chime in on the horror films. When we got horror stuff to review on the show, it's usually me, Robert, and Jason.
Yes, I've been known to conjure large weather events to get out of it.
Yes, you have. No. I knew going in that this was going to be more B-level horror. I mean, obviously it's made for TV. I'm kind of surprised at the amount of gore they got away with for a TV. Again, rated R, but this was still very gory for a TV movie.
Yeah, for even cable television that isn't subscription-based. I think they were able to get away with it because, one, even the lollipop thing wasn't that graphic. When they cut the hipster in half, it looks so phony, it's laughable. And then again, they break up a lot of it. Like, none of this comes across as particularly overtly sinister, because as soon as they kill somebody in a really graphic fashion, there's this large, cuddly creature doing things like ta-da, or some on the wisecracky line, and it cuts the tension right out.
Yeah, this is what separates this from torture porn like Terrifier. God, that movie was stupid.
Yeah, this is a less gross Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, where Freddy's just cracking wise through the whole thing.
Silly Stevie, smoking kills.
So, you were saying, though, you were surprised at how graphic it got at times. What else?
This is kind of interesting for me because obviously this is a sci-fi movie and there is a lot of flaws with it. There's a lot of shots that don't make sense when, oh God, was it, I think it was Drooper that sawed the hipster in half, the lion? Was it I can't remember if it was Fleegle or Drooper who did that.
You keep going, I'll look.
All right, well, okay, so we have Thad and Poppy, these two Instagram wannabe hipsters, and I love it. He's like, I have to tweet this out to my followers, and you see on his thing he's got like 218, and I'm laughing like, dude, I've got more than that.
It was Fleegle, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Fleegle. I hate to say it, after a while you start to forget, wait, which one killed who? But so yeah, they're exploring the back of the set, and I was loving these two because I have seen so many dumbass hipsters at Comic-Cons who pull this kind of shit, who are all going nuts about vintage stuff and just trying to be like, oh, I'm going to be an Instagram influencer and all this. And oh man, I've seen so many of these people. And then you got Fleegle, who comes in to saw Thad in half on the magic set. But the way he grabs Poppy and is holding her while they're sawing it, cinematography-wise, it makes no sense to shoot it like that.
Yeah, I had a couple of continuity issues with this. Number one, it never made sense why the robots were killing people in the first place. Like, because they have the setup there with the guy who repairs the robots. He's like, oh, you need an update. And suddenly the thing's eyes turn red and the code mysteriously turns red. Like, okay, he was virused in some way. But that never pays off in any way. You don't ever get any confirmation as to what happened to him. He just suddenly becomes evil. Except that they've got kids in the basement, a la Freddy. You know? They've got this collection of kids that they're adding to. Apparently this has been going on for quite some time. They have, I don't know if you watched The Orville at all, but there was a scene in one of the episodes of The Orville where they go into the catacombs of this planet, and there's just bones everywhere from all the people they've killed.
I didn't think this was going on for a while. I thought those were the kids from the taping, because we have the survivors come across a pile of bodies, but they comment it's only the adults. I figured that the code hit, and I figured it was a glitch because you see the words "the show must go on" flash in Drooper's glasses. I figured it was just a glitch from the computer saying if the show must go on, then this is what we must do anything to, follow that part of the code. They killed those adults, and the kids that we saw being forced to watch the torture were the same kids who were at that particular taping that we watched.
Really? I didn't catch
That's what I assumed.
Okay, I didn't catch that detail. The impression I got was that at a series of tapings, this has been going on for a while, and that they were like doing, they were essentially at these meet and greets. They were offing, like, this isn't the first time this has happened. That they were offing the parents and keeping the kids chained in the basement, and this is, this happens every time they do a taping, and which again, like I said, the plot of this, outside of you have animatronics running around killing people, didn't make a tremendous amount of sense to me. Like, there were just things that don't add up, because either you're right or I'm right, except there's nothing really confirming either.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give you this. They never explicitly say how many bodies are there, or if that's more than just the taping. And you never really get a good, view of how many people have shown up to this taping. So it's kind of hard to gauge, if it's the right amount of bodies.
And then there's this idea. I mean, they put out the idea of they're reacting to having been fired, but then this is also not great writing because you never. It would have made more sense had they started the movie up with a taping where everything goes according to plan, and then they get fired, and then I start turning. Then they start acting differently. Well, the first time you see them, they nearly run Harley over. So like they never really gave a great explanation for why this was happening. They just kind of left. Well, the show must go on, and they've been canceled, so this is their reaction to it. Like. Okay, and then, but you took it a step further, and then they decided to do this torture show. But why? Like, I can see killing people for revenge. Why are you killing the parents? Why are you kidnapping the children? It seems killing the staff would have made more sense, and then just letting it end there. See. Like I don't feel like the script was all the way thought out. I think they were like, it doesn't matter. We're doing a movie about animatronics running around killing people. There just needs to be the barest thread of a plot here. And that's about what we got.
I'll give you that. There could have been a little bit more development with the actual why they would do this. But what gets me is that this film has the bearings of a legit good horror movie. And I'm not just talking with the gore or anything. Even though I am going to say this, I was very impressed with the amount of practical effects, mostly because sci-fi movies like that, as you probably noticed from a couple of takes, their CGI is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the security guard's head pops off and you see the blood, I'm like, oh, there's the Sharknado levels of CGI I'm used to.
But that's the stuff that made me laugh, and that's part of why I agreed to do this, because I knew that this was going to be like carnival level horror, Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, like this I don't find gross. Even when Thad gets cut in half and you see his guts hanging out. I've seen other movies where people's guts hung out. I had to turn my head because it legit looks gross. It looks real. That looks like a fake body. When they tore, what got me with tearing the VP in half was I wasn't quite sure how they were going to do it. I didn't know if they were really going to split him down the middle, which I couldn't look at, and that's why I averted my eyes. When I saw that they just ripped his limbs off, I'm like, oh, okay, that I've seen plenty of times before, and that's not so bad. setting the dad on fire. It looked gross, but I mean, we've all seen A Nightmare on Elm Street. I've seen worse.
I will say that he must have the thickest skin imaginable, because no human being I could ever think of could have their entire head set on fire and then just look like they forgot their sunblock on freaking Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, it looked pretty silly. Like he just basically spilled hot oatmeal on himself.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say, like, dude, no, your eyes should have been, like, burned out of your skull. You should be bleeding. Your hair. He's got a mustache, and his hair is like, no. That should all be gone, okay?
But I think my favorite one, just because it was more subtle than these sort of overt, silly, over-the-top kills, but it seemed more malevolent, was when they were having the director run through the sloppy obstacle course. And first of all, she's already got a broken hand, and she's falling on it, and you can actually hear the bones crunch. And then
yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, that's just watching her do that, watching him fall in there when his face is already burnt up. She was like tar and feathering himself, basically. That all was like, that is legitimately creepy to me. And then, but again, they cut the tension with something silly at the end. And in this case, you have whoever the dog one was. I think that's Flegel. She gets to the top. She's like, "I made it," and like hits her on the head. And he said something funny at the end of it. You know, he always had a good wisecracking line. As she sinks into the balls, and I laughed hard at that. Like I was uncomfortable watching it. It was, there's killing somebody and then there's torturing them, and I have more of a problem with torture than I do with just a straight dismembering. But then she gets hit in the head, and it just and all of the tension and anxiety that scene produces is just gone at that point. Same thing with Thad. It's gruesome to watch him get cut in half, but then Flegel like standing back and going, "Ta-da!" I almost died. I fell out of my fucking chair.
I will admit, watching those incredibly fake intestines, which, again, practical effect-wise, not the worst thing I've ever seen. All I could think was this video someone posted for Halloween about how to make a red velvet cake, sheet cake, that looks like intestines. Mm-hmm. And I remember commenting on them like, yeah, that's awesome and all, but I am not eating red velvet cake without cream cheese frosting. But, of course, you can't put cream cheese frosting on the intestines because that ruins it. And I'm like, then I'm not eating it.
Right. That sort of defeats the purpose. Then it's not really a red velvet cake. It's a red sponge cake.
Yeah, exactly.
What was some of the kills that either freaked you out, or if there were any, or you just, your favorite ones?
The one I actually laughed at the hardest was Stevie getting the lollipop down his throat. Because you see, again, I believe it's Drooper, the lion, who it is Drooper, who kills him, and he gets this humongous, one of those all-day sucker lollipops.
Right.
And I thought at first they were going to go what they did with the movie Trick or Treat, where they kind of bite off part of it and make it really jagged, and then they can use it to slice him or something. But he jams down his throat, but it just cuts. You see it going down, and then all of a sudden you see him with the stick in his mouth, and I'm starting going, wait, how did he get that whole thing in his mouth?
Yeah.
But the choking with the thing in his mouth and the blood coming out, I think that was legit terrifying, and it was well done. But I'm still going, how did he get it in his mouth?
Right.
Makes no sense. But again, it's so over the top. I loved it.
This is a movie that says nuts to making sense. We know why we're here. And I think that this is, like I said, this is one of those where I'm not going to... Where I fault the movie is things being not explained appropriately or not being paid off very well. The other thing is, and I don't know if this is what they were going for or not, but they really could have made this more creepy. They really could have used... they could have built towards more tension and been more atmospheric with it. There was you're I don't know if you probably have been like backstage at a taping of something. I mean, these things are dark. They're dank. They can be dusty. These studios. There's a lot. There's a lot you can do in terms of building up to a scare, and it was like, no, we don't want to deal with any of that either. We just want to be gross.
No, I get it. I stuck onto the Universal backlot with my mom when I was a teenager.
Okay.
No, sorry, little backstory. My mom used to work for a radio station here in town, and she was invited to a press junket at, oh God, I can't remember which country music award show it was, but she took me along. I got to be a talent escort. I got to meet Reba McEntire and Willie Nelson in Rascal Flatts.
How high was Willie Nelson?
He didn't come across as high. He was actually the nicest person I've ever met. I was told not to approach the talent and not to get all like, oh my God, I'm such a big fan, because obviously they're going to get enough of that. He walked right up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Willie," and offered me his hand. He was so sweet.
That's cool.
Well, but the press junket was at Universal Studios. It was at that amphitheater that's part of the lot. And while we were trying to get out, they were loading it, bringing all these trucks with all the equipment for the show. So every exit ramp was blocked. So we're in a van with a bunch of other people trying to get out. And we see this one road and like, okay, maybe that's the way out. And we start driving down and I look out the window and I'm like, guys, that's Whoville. And it was the Whoville set from How the Grinch Stole Christmas. And we stopped and realized we were on the lot where they do the tours. We're like, okay, we can either back up now or we could take advantage of this. 3, 2, 1. We all jumped out of the car and ran onto the Whoville set and took pictures.
The back lot of a film studio is a great place to shoot a horror movie. Like I said, because of like the long dark corridors and that sort of thing. They did none of that here. Mm-hmm. It's literally like move from the intersperse setups for kills with the family drama. The other thing about this, and I texted you about this while I was watching the movie. I was like, this is kind of like a really weird, like almost backwards Willy Wonka. So Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you have terrible children who get punished. That's kind of the plot to Willy. It's you have Veruca Salt, and she's told don't do a thing, and she does a thing, and she turns into a blueberry. This goes on and on and on. Here you have kind of terrible parents, or terrible adults. And I don't know if they consciously did it this way or not, but I almost think they should have spent a little less time with the family and their drama, and maybe had a few more kids and their parents and play this up a bit. I felt like that was one of the things that didn't work for me with this. Was I like the idea of, and I almost wish that this was the reason they were killing people, is that the robots innately decided they hated the parents and they thought they were rescuing the children from terrible people, which I think would have been a more interesting plot for this. But like the best example of this is probably the dad trying to get his daughter noticed to the exclusion of all else.
I'd like to add that this kid, I know kid actors are obviously not going to be that great, but I was dying the fact that this girl, who's supposed to be an actress wannabe, it was probably the worst actor in the entire film.
Yeah.
She slipped into an accent a couple of times. I'm like, what are you doing, kid?
I laughed pretty hard when he finally corners the director, and he was like, okay, do the thing. And she started, was it the milkshake dance?
No, it was My Humps.
Oh, yeah. My Humps. She's like, that's terrifying. Knock it off. It was, I'm sure it was meant to be terrible. But, she was very flat. The other kids were fine. And I was going to get to performances in just a second. But that's the problem. A lot of this movie, there's the beginnings of a great idea that's just never fleshed out. So the idea of terrible parents being killed by the banana splits, and that and them thinking that this is what's best for the children, I thought was an interesting idea, and there's a little bit of that in this, but they don't do anything with it. They just if they kill the parents, and it's always, and they're just very much focused on, well, the show must go on, which that by itself, again, is the beginnings. It's the germ of a good idea. But when you don't do anything with it, it's like, okay, that's not really enough to carry this movie.
Yeah, but again, there is at core here a legit good scary movie. There were a handful of scenes that were creepy, and as we've discussed with the whole Five Nights at Freddy's comparisons, the idea of these children entertaining animatronics suddenly, coming to life and killing people, it really is scary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry. I know I went to Chuck E. Cheese a lot as a kid, but now I look back and I'm going, okay, maybe that wasn't the best atmosphere for me.
Yeah, I was legit terrified for the kid when he's trying to get Snorky to befriend him, and, Snorky's looking at him with those dead eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, they're not going to kill a kid on cable television, are they? And they don't. the kids suffer nary a scratch. But yeah. I was legit terrified they were going to murder that poor child. Right there in that scene. But one of the reviews that I read on this was when the movie gets to the banana splits killing people, that's obviously the best stuff. That's where you hear that's the main event. But like I said, the B plot of this thing is the family turmoil, which I wasn't tremendously impressed with the older brother. I guess he did an okay with an awkward character, but
he mumbled a lot. There was a couple times I was sitting there going, maybe I should have downloaded this with subtitles.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed with him. I thought the mom was fine. I thought the dad just had to play a douchebag. I thought he was fine. But
he was so freaking adorably cliche. I mean, for God's sakes, he actually, takes the ticket so he can get the appreciation from the youngest son. And then when he says, I love you, Dad, he goes, we've talked about this. You're too old to call me Daddy. I'm like, wow, you are so going to die.
Yeah, this was definitely hit you over the head. Like, there was no subtlety in this movie. One of the reviews that I read was that it was just out of balance. We spend too long with the family and not enough time in the studio where the good stuff is. I thought that was pretty accurate. I thought that was a good reflection of one of the problems with this movie. I mean, you've said now a couple of times, there's somewhere in this movie is a good idea for a horror film. You're not wrong. And when those elements are present, I think that's when you're having fun. But it's a lot of the other stuff around it just needs so much work, and so it creates this real big imbalance in the viewing experience.
Yeah, this was a good idea that unfortunately got convoluted down with a sci-fi movie of the week budget. D-list actors. I mean, some of the actors were okay. The mother actually was probably one of the weirdest ones, though. She did a good job, but it just kind of caught me off guard how she got so gung-ho. She's like, we have to get the kids out of here. We have to save the kids. I'm like, are you former military or something? Because most stay-at-home housewife mothers that I have met would not suddenly just be taking off their jackets and going, all right, let's do this. They would be, freaking out, hysterically crying.
Yeah. Yeah, suddenly it's... Again, things are not fleshed out very well. So she turns into Rambo all of a sudden, and she starts fighting with the animatronics and all of that. I'm like, whatever. I expected her to put a red headband on and pull out a hunting knife.
Ha. Yeah, the older brother, for the fact that he was mumbling way too much, I felt at least I got his character a little bit better. He was a little bit more believable.
Mm-hmm. I thought the kid who played Harley's fine. God, he looks like... I mean, granted, he's significantly younger, but he looks like that one kid from The Sandlot.
Oh, I thought he looked like the kid from Insidious.
I have not seen Insidious. I would not know.
I like the little girl who played Zoe, the friend of Harley's that tagged along with them. She was actually quite good.
Yeah, I mean, for child actors, I thought Harley and Zoe were both fine. They both acceptable. They both had, a child's charm about them. But yeah, the girl actress, and in quotes, she was terrible. I can see where her part was probably bigger, and then she started reading, and they were like, "Let's just cut her out of the movie."
Yeah.
Anything else about this? Anything that we haven't covered, really? I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but there's not a lot here. I did laugh. I'll say one thing I did laugh at. So Mitch somehow survives, being run over by Snorky, only to be run over again later on by Poppy.
Who has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yes, literally. She's wearing a Banana Splits costume and everything at the time.
Yeah, we find out that there was supposed to be another Banana Split character, an owl named Hootie, that they never got around to, and she finds part of I couldn't tell if Hootie was supposed to be a boy or a girl character.
I got the impression it was a girl.
Yeah, maybe it was, and I just forgot about that. But yeah, she takes Hootie's mask and gloves, uses the sharp. Apparently, Hootie had razor sharp claws because she uses that to kill the guy who programmed the Banana Splits out of vengeance for her fiance getting sacked or getting killed. And then yeah, she steals the banana buggy with the remains of. I couldn't tell if it was all of them, but I know I saw Fleagle in there.
Yeah, his eyes light up, I believe, at the end.
And you hear that ominous laugh. And then we get Fallout Boy.
Yeah, so she runs over Mitch one last time and drags his carcass over the concrete while singing the Banana Split song. Every time he got hit by a car, I had a good belly laugh.
Totally. By the way, who the hell... The way he was running away from Snorky, what was that? He's flailing his limbs like crazy. It was so weird. I'm like, who runs like that?
Clearly, he went to the Prometheus school of running away from things.
Oh, we have a CinemaSins fan.
Even before CinemaSins, when I saw Prometheus, I was like, are you kidding me? Run to the side, goddammit.
Turn left! Turn left! Actually, that's so funny. Snorky's chasing him. And I don't know what that was. It looked kind of like it was like a ditch or something. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there going, just climb out. You probably can't step out of it, but like just kind of jump and roll out of it. And you're out of the way of the car because the banana buggy's not going to be able to get out of the ditch.
Right. Anything else? Anything you want to talk about with this? I've kind of covered, I think, all the major points here.
I really did enjoy this. If you go in with the right attitude, this is a B-level horror movie with sometimes okay, sometimes mediocre special effects. Again, I was impressed with some of the practical effects, even if they were pretty fake-looking. At least they went practical with most of them. They could have CGI'd the hell out of Thad getting sawed in half, and obviously it would have looked terrible.
Yeah, I agree. This is one where you can't, if you're going to review it, you can't help but notice there are some flaws with the movie. But if you're just watching it for the almost 90 minutes that it's on, for the fun kills and everything, and just the whole out-of-the-box wackadoo idea of these animatronic children's characters running around killing people in the studio. It's a fun movie. It is absolutely a fun way to spend 90 minutes. I had a good hearty laugh at it. I might, I own it now. I might actually watch it again sometime in the future just to give myself a laugh.
Oh, yeah.
But, critically, it's not great. There's a lot of problems with it. The one thing, and I think you're right about this, though, I think the one thing that saves it is the practical effects, is they went out of their way to go like old school, like almost 80s horror, which was which gave the movie a nice aesthetic. But, so, it looks pretty good. It's a fun idea. It just, the script needs, this is like first draft level, no notes. It was like, well, we have a script, fine, shoot this fucker. There was no adult supervision on this, it feels like. They were like, shoot it and get it in a box.
It just kind of bugs me because I'm sitting there going, this could be a good horror movie, but clearly the director wasn't putting a lot of work into this. There's one scene where, Paige slips and falls in the blood. Paige, they make a lot of jokes about that. And we cut to, and then you cut to everyone else turning back to go get her, but then they jump cut to the older brother helping her pick herself up. I'm like, wait a minute, you why did you cut like that? It is a little jarring. So, but this is a again, you go in with the right mindset with this film, you're going to love it. And to all of the critics who were complaining about how insulting it was that they took these childhood icons and made them into murdering robots, get over it.
So this director, Danishka Esterhazy, won an award, Women in Film and Television International, for Most Promising Female Canadian Director. Apparently she's most known for the movie she directed in 2009 called Blackfield. Prior to that, yeah, I have no clue what this is. Prior to that, she did a bunch of shorts. After that, in 2010, she did Suddenly Ever After. She did a TV series, Where the Funny Comes From, The Trials of Rasputin, Bullies, Not Cool, the TV series. The last couple of projects she worked on in 2013 was H&G and something called Level 16.
I get the feeling the director was more interested in the scenes with the banana splits themselves and actually making the horror elements a little bit more fun. And when they got to the other parts of it, she just was kind of like, okay, whatever. Because you can tell there's a lot more passion when we actually get to the horror elements, and everything else just kind of feels you really didn't care.
Yeah, that's why I wish this script was more ensemble and less centered around the family.
Yeah, imagine if someone like James Wan or Leigh Whannell had actually taken over this. This could have been like a horror icon kind of a film.
Oh, absolutely. Again, the germ of a good idea, but this was, when they shot this and edited it and sent it for printing, this was not a finished product. But whatever, it's not the worst $20 I've ever spent. So. All right.
Again, I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of cheesy horror movies, you're going to love it. And I really hope we do get a feature-length film with something similar to this. I don't know if it's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's or not, but there is a seed here for a legit good horror movie, and I really want to see it come to fruition.
Well, hopefully, if the Blu-ray sales on this are good or the digital sales on this are good. Apparently, it's also going to be on Sci-Fi on the 21st of September. If it's pretty well watched, maybe that'll push the people involved with Five Nights at Freddy to actually get on the ball and get this thing out there. That there's excuse me, there's an audience for it. Mm-hmm. We'll see. All right. In the meantime, go ahead and tell people where you're going to be at.
Well, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, we're gearing up for our big Labor Day sale starting. If I can get everything done in time, starting tomorrow, August 30th, and running until Labor Day. It's 15% off everything in our Etsy and Handmade at Amazon stores. After this, we're going to be at CMOCon in Poplar Bluffs, and we're going to be doing a double show the weekend after. Half of our crew is heading to Cape Girardeau for Cape Anime. That's a first-time show. We're going to be there, but it's run by the same folks who do Cape Comic-Con, which we have been regular guests at, so fingers crossed. And the other half is going to the Cincinnati Comic Expo. We have been regular guests there for years. It's one of our favorite shows. We are delighted to be heading back to that. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and under protest, Twitter. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Alexis may or may not be joining us tomorrow as we go back to the Sci-Fi Channel and we review Zombie Tidal Wave.
I actually haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it tomorrow. Tonight, however, you get just more and more of Alexis here. She will be joining Robert Winfrey to review Ready or Not on Damn You Hollywood. Next week, we've got Onslaught Volume 1 on source material. We'll have 2 shows on Tuesday. We've got the TV Party for Hannibal Season 3. We've got a TV party for all the various wrestling shows that'll be this weekend. New Japan Pro Wrestling, London Quest, Royal Quest, rather. I keep saying London Quest. Royal Quest. NXT UK Cardiff, TakeOver, and All Elite Wrestling All Out. No Metal Hammer of Doom, because I'll be at Knotfest, but you'll get a second source material show, X-Men Legacy Volume 2, Invasive Exotics. And then Jesse and I will be doing a TV party for Legion Season 3. And then Saturday, myself and Robert Winfrey will be doing alternative commentary for UFC 242, Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Dustin Poirier for the lightweight title. So that'll be fun. Well, Alexis, pleasure having you on the show once again. We look forward to your review tonight with Robert and see what you guys thought of Ready or Not. In the meantime, thank you for joining us here on TV Party tonight. Before we go, we're going to throw to a Podcoin ad, and then we'll say, be well, be safe, and behave. Hey, everybody. I really do hope you love the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Did you know that you can actually get paid just for listening to this podcast? I know it sounds insane, but it's true. We just discovered this free new app called Podcoin, and it literally pays you to listen to podcasts. Here's how it works. You listen to podcasts, and you earn Podcoin while you listen. Then you turn that Podcoin in for gift cards at places like Amazon or Starbucks, or if you're a good person, you could even donate that Podcoin to charity. The more you listen, the more you earn. Here's what you do. Download the app right now on iPhone or Android, and I have a special code for you. Simply use our code MARKWED5. That's capital MARKWED 5. Capital MARKWED 5. MARKWED 5. And you'll get 300 Podcoin just for signing up. And if you listen to enough of us on there, you can get a cappuccino at Starbucks or an Amazon gift card on us. So go ahead and go listen to this podcast or virtually any podcast on Podcoin and sign up with code MARKWED5. I swear it'll change the way you listen to podcasts.